Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you see this video, this transmission. Thank you for joining us today for the ReSounding Wholeness Conversation series. My name is Karen Renee Robb, and I am the founder of ReSounding Wholeness and Frame Drum Wisdom. And I'm thrilled to have Laura Lee here to meet with me today as my special guest. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about Laura here momentarily. But first, what I want to do is read the mission statement for Resounding Wholeness Conversations and kind of why I started this series of conversations. In a world that idolizes celebrities, gurus, athletes, fashion, the latest trends, technology, media, and more, it is our goal to highlight human beings who are sharing their unique, incredible soul's purpose and service in the world. While they may not have the biggest following, these courageous beings are making an incredible impact in the world, creating energetic ripples that will collectively serve to move mountains and reshape the future of humanity on this planet. We hope to encourage and inspire more people to reconnect with their unique gifts, step into their true soul's calling, take actions to serve humanity, and be a way shower at this pivotal time in history and her story. So welcome. Yes. No pressure. No pressure. You know, what I love about it is it's just like I find people who are just doing their work, who are serving, who I resonate with and know that they are serving in a beautiful capacity. And you are one of those people, Laura. So I'm excited to share this time with you.
That's so awesome.
I'm going to read Laura's bio, and then we're going to get into a little bit more. Laura is a mother, wife, daughter, sister, friend, and certified master level transformational life coach. She stands for all women everywhere, ditching shoulds and shame and choosing instead to tap into the call of their heart, reclaim lost energy, and unearth the passions that make them truly shine. She shares her intuitive wisdom and light with women as a transformational coach through her writing, speaking, and leading group programs and retreats for women. As a breathwork guide and facilitator, she shares conscious connected breathwork or rebirthing breathwork with her clients and uses this incredibly healing modality to help women heal, release, and move emotional toxins, stuck shame, and deep soul wounds out of the body. She holds a safe and sacred space for healing and leads women into the depths of their desires and the wounds that keep them striving and struggling to healing and wholeness on their side. She believes all women possess a divine soul's purpose. Her greatest joy and purpose is to help women uncover and reclaim the divine soul assignment that they're being called to and support and guide them home to their truest selves every step of the way. Laura recently moved to Franklin, Tennessee from Los Angeles and lives with her husband and beautiful 3 boys. She is a lover of the natural world, finding inspiration and magic in the tiniest details of life. Oh, right. Oh, no. Even as I read that, I'm like, this is exactly why we're kindred souls. This is why we're coming together. We were talking earlier about when we first met, and we just agreed to say it's 2019. So it's been just a few years that we've met and spent time together.
Yes, 2 years.
Truly a blessing that we connected. I too moved from California 21 years ago. So I've been here a little bit longer, and know that kind of the challenges of finding your tribe when you come to this land. So yeah. So I'm grateful that we're connected.
Me too. I'm just so excited to be here with you. It's so special. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here because we are I think it was, I even said to you, I remember, I was just remembering this when you were speaking, coming to your first circle, meeting you for the first time. Excuse me, the allergies here.
Exactly. Right.
Right? See, allergies. And I remember saying to you, I feel like a part of my heart has now arrived here in Tennessee. It just felt so real. You felt so real. And there was an instant recognizing of that
Mhm.
when you recognize somebody that is kind of a soul, a kindred spirit.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So, well, let's dive into some questions, some things. So, I spoke a little bit about what you do, but
Mhm.
I want you to go into a little bit more depth. So, the first question is, can you describe what you have been called to do and share, and just tell us about what your calling is at this time?
Yes, I would love to. Well, it's funny because it's so easy to be with you because I feel like everything just flows. Because I was thinking about this before, and it was so easy. It just came to me so quickly that I'm really here to help women experience the divine within themselves. That's the biggest part of my, I would say, purpose, mission, um, and to bring peace and compassion and connect them back into their gifts and their joy and their purpose. And I'm not here to, sometimes when you hear the word coaching, it can bring up this connotation, I'm helping you fix what's broken, or that's absolutely not what I'm here to do. I don't believe you're broken. I don't believe you're needing to be fixed. So that's not the way I view our experience together as coach and client. um, I'm not here to fix what's broken, but I'm here to help you uncover what's been hidden, really. And that's really the gist of what I do as a guide and a coach. So it's about reclaiming, it's about restoration, it's about remembering, and then supporting them to embody this remembering,
Mhm.
right? It's and that's sometimes the hardest part, is we have this awakening, we start to remember ourselves, as not just what we've thought, or that we thought we were broken or were struggling, but it's the embodying piece that is so valuable. It's the embodying piece too, is like being held as you then step out and take new actions, because without taking action there is no transformation, which is ultimately what we all want. We want to transform what's not working for us so we can be who we are, right?
And some of those actions are very scary
Yeah.
when we're stepping out into, there's a part of us that knows we're supposed to step out, but then the actual action and like, well, what's going to happen when I do this? What if people around me don't like who I'm becoming or where I'm supposed to go? What am I going to do? And having a support person on your side in your when you don't know how the rest of your family and friends and stuff are going to respond to the new you, the actual you,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, exactly. Or just not even knowing, who will I be when I stop berating myself and give up the self-hatred? Who will I be? Even though we don't want to do that anymore, there's fear to let go of that old self, because it's what we've known. It's what we've known. We know we can get through it. We're used to getting through it. So there's a process of, yes, absolutely helping clients work with their fear, to
Mhm.
dialogue with the fear, because the fear has so much to tell you.
Mm.
So it's not about being fearless. We need our fear. Our fear is there, it has a message.
Yes.
I feel that holding
Container.
in the container.
The other
Yes. So it's what's so beautiful about the coaching client relationship, or even in breath work or whatever it is we're doing together. There's many vehicles we can do it in. um, it's having that trust and that sacred container that we can do it, that you have to do it in. And
Mhm.
that's one of my highest core values, is holding a safe and sacred container, and how to do
Oh,
that, right?
yeah.
We it's So I think oftentimes too we think when we have an awakening, oh, I should just be able to do this on my own. I should just be able to, now I've had this awakening. I know I'm stuck in shame, or I know I'm afraid. So I'm just going to get through it, or whatever. But we need each other to transform. We need each other to heal. That's why we're here.
Yes.
So if I can do that, and that's what I feel like my calling is, it's my greatest joy, along with being a mother and a wife and a creator and all the other things, right? I don't think we are just what we do
Yes.
for a living, but I think a lot of women, when they come to me, they're either no longer okay with not being able to access joy. They've reached that wall where they're like, I can no longer go on this way. This is no longer okay with me. I'm ready to find out what's on the other side, or what I'm capable of, or if I can have that. Or they come to me with this sense of a calling. Like, I have this deep calling in my heart. I have this something in my soul is telling me there's more. There's something more. We hear that a lot. I know there's more. Because that's the feeling. Our soul is saying there is more. And I want you to find it. I want you to uncover it. And so that's often where we meet, where I meet with
women coming to you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say is gifts, like otherworldly gifts. That some, like, at this time on the planet, there's so much energy happening, and maybe they had the gift when they were a child, or they've been suppressing the gift, and now it's like all of it's making that gift just like show up. Those of us that are empaths, we're feeling and sensing energy even more. Those that see dead people, or like all whatever it is that are meant, or you see auras or whatever, it's like those things are being amplified now too, and you can't deny that either. It's like you can't deny it anymore, but you don't know who is going to believe you and not call you crazy
Exactly.
as
But
you allow it to come forth.
yes, like all of those things coming together. And you're like, okay, I hear you, universe.
Yeah.
Ready to try something else. And it's about, the other thing is sometimes I'll have someone come and say, I just want to know what I'm meant to do. What is my purpose? And almost like and I did this in the beginning too. I think we think our purpose is just our job, or what we're meant to do in the world is a vocation. And it can definitely be. But I think the result of learning, becoming aware that our purpose is to me letting all of our parts express themselves in the way that they're meant to. And then letting that move you, and let that show you. And sometimes it will show you what you're meant to do for a living in a new way. And sometimes that will show you, it's about like who you're being will show you what you're meant to be doing. And I love it when I can really kind of open a client's awareness to that, because then it becomes so much bigger, and it releases some of the shame and the urgency of, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, let's just pull back and let's find out who you're meant to be. Right? And then we'll find out what that's going to lead you to do.
Right.
And it's like, it's like this relief comes,
Well, I also want to just make a comment that, there are so many coaches out there, so many life coaches, and this coach, and my what I want to say about you is that you're just so inviting and nurturing, and your presence is so tender. Sometimes coaches are like, did you do that? They're the action Nazis, the action police.
Yes.
You do what you said you were going to do.
Yes.
You're like, no, I'm sorry. Right? And I don't sense that from you at all.
No, it's so funny. We have a different flavor, right? We do.
Right.
And you'll find that I have a different way. Like, I was talking to someone yesterday about this.
Mhm.
Everyone has such a different way of being big in the world.
Mhm.
And, my big, because I hold you accountable, and I do it from a really a strong place inside that I
Mhm.
hold you capable,
Mhm.
and you feel that, and you
Mhm.
want to show up and do the action step. I'm
Mhm.
not necessarily the tough love, do this thing, and that's great for some people. They
Yeah.
really need that and respond to that. So
Mhm.
I always say, yes, this is my flavor, this is my energy,
Mhm.
and I am going to hold you accountable. And if you like the way I do that, this is, it's almost like, and it took me a while too, I have to say, Karen Renee, that word coach,
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily uh, bond with it. I don't know how you say that. I didn't necessarily resonate with that
Yeah.
word,
Yeah.
but um, it is the word I use quite often. Um, I feel like sometimes, I could say I'm a soul guide, or I help you release yourself into the world. It's always hard to come up with those terms.
I've actually taken on the idea of midwife for the soul's expression. You're midwifing, helping someone along with the birth of themselves.
Absolutely. That I was thinking about that last night as I laid my head on the pillow, because I was thinking about that term coach. And I was thinking, I really am just a midwife.
Yeah.
Birth, I'm helping you birth who you are. So thank you
Yeah.
for helping me remember that.
Midwife for the soul's expression, helping people birth themselves. Yeah. And I was going to say something else, but it's gone for the moment.
Okay. It'll
So
come back if
it'll come back if it needs to.
yes.
Um, so when did you discover? Tell me about the path of moving from. I mean, you can share a bit about yourself a little more, and then becoming a mother, and then when did you start bringing forth this practice, this desire to help women, and how did that path unfold for you?
Yes. Gosh, it's been such a journey, obviously. Life is a journey. Um, I would say that discovering my gifts, really, it was really me having my own experience, and really awakening to the fact that I had been disconnected from my gifts for a long time. And I had gotten to that place where I showed up to somebody and said, I'm no longer okay with this. I'm no longer okay being disconnected. I can't access my joy. And I don't know what to do next, but I'm going to surrender and say, I'll do whatever it takes. And so, as far as me finding my way to coaching, I didn't even know what coaching was when I, when I had my own experience of healing. So many things went into that. A process of falling to my knees and surrendering and saying to God, Spirit, I'm no longer going to try to fix myself. I've done that for most of my life. It's never gotten me to a place of joy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And then listening for the next right thing, feeling it, letting myself grieve and feel sadness and be honest. And, that process for me personally was getting honest about the things that I had used to disconnect from spirit and
Mhm.
from my gifts.
Mhm.
So many things, but one being alcohol.
Mhm.
That was something that I had used to numb the pain or just not feel or go into the dark, deep places where I needed to go so I could see why I couldn't access my joy. It was kind of my
Mhm.
go to, have had a hard day, let me pop open a bottle of red wine. It was just, and everybody has, I wasn't able to kind of see that at first, because I thought, oh, an alcoholic is someone who wakes up and drinks vodka and shakes. And, I had all these images of what I thought that meant. But when
Mhm.
I got really honest, the question was, well, what am I using to stay disconnected? And that was my first answer. So
Mhm.
I had to Well, I didn't have to. I chose to release it. And I started telling the truth more, and I found myself in some recovery rooms. And I hear Glennon Doyle talk about this. She's one of my favorite writers, and
Mhm.
how for the first time in a recovery room, she actually heard people speak truth and honesty. And that was me. I was floored. I was like, whoa, this is wow. And I hid in the back of the room because I was so afraid, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and even sharing that, I can just marvel at where I am today. I mean, I literally was, just there's no way I could have shared my truth in that circle the first time I walked in the door. And, that was the process for about a year for me. And then I eventually left those rooms. It wasn't where I found my home, my spiritual home.
Mhm.
And that's okay. It looks different for all of us. But I did commit to continue to connect spiritually. And that was what allowed me to heal and to keep going into the deep, dark
Mhm.
places and to ask for my own guides to hold me. And as a mother,
Mhm.
this awakening for me happened as a mother. I had 3 children already. And that was one of the things that brought me to my knees was motherhood. Not
Oh my
only
God.
not only could I not um you know I had all of these beautiful gifts in front of me, and I couldn't access my own joy. And I was like, I can't.
Mm.
No, this is not something wrong. So, as when they were little, I was going through this healing journey, and I started to, as I said, listen and respond to the pulls and the draws of my heart and the taps on my soul and the pull in my tummy. And I found myself just walking down to the school where they went to elementary school and, saying, how can I be of service? Like,
Ah.
I want to be of service. I don't want to hate myself anymore. I don't want to continue to try to fix my body and be perfect and all the ways that the world tells you will bring you happiness. I knew that was a lie at this point. I think I'd
Mhm.
always known it, but now I was ready to really not know it. And I said, I'd like to help teach these kiddos how to nourish their bodies because they're worth it, not because they need to look a certain way, but I want them to know what it feels like to love themselves and know that they're worthy of that kind of care. Which, I mean,
Mhm.
oftentimes I can speak in these lyrical ways, right? And she's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, so that means can I teach nutrition classes to these kids? And she was like, well, we just got grant money for that. Nobody wants to take it on. And I was like, what? And it was just like this big confirmation from spirit, from God. Thank you, Laura, for waking up and walking down here because I've been waiting on you. And here's the sign for you that this is actually me saying, yeah, let's do this. And not to go too far into that story, but that was my first kind of, I guess, entry into what I do now. I started teaching classes to these kids. I took this old kind of, you know, these garden boxes that had just sat in the back of the school empty.
Mhm.
Um, with like old overgrown dirts and things like that, and we cleaned them out. We got grant money, we got new soil, we planted a vegetable garden,
Mhm.
and I'm telling you, nobody else knew what was happening inside of me, but planting these seeds and watching this garden grow. Meanwhile, I did not know how to plant a garden. This was me really stepping out, and I have no clue what I'm doing. um, but I trust you that if I'm planting a seed.
Right. It's that whole learning by teaching.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah.
jumping in. I got to learn just one step ahead of these guys, so we have something to do.
And it was like, I trust that if I plant the seed and I water it and I make sure it's got sunlight and I make sure it's got good soil, I trust spirit does the rest. And so
Mhm.
every time something would pop out of the ground, it was like, oh my gosh, like I was popping out of the ground, you know? So it was just such a beautiful,
Yes.
I
Oh,
guess,
yeah.
natural, authentic way of moving into. And then noticing the little girls that would come up to me and ask me questions about their bodies and
Mm.
reflect different things that they had been told about their bodies. And I just was like, I have to speak truth into that. So then I started doing workshops for the girls. And,
Mm.
that became then working with the moms, and it just kept going. And then of course, then I became actually certified as a coach. I actually went to school,
Mhm.
and received, and over the past 10 years, have received several certifications, in coaching.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I just, yeah, I just was led, and I just kept saying yes to the next thing. Um,
What I love what you said was, and I know that it happened for me in 2012, is that idea of how can I serve? Like I had that pivotal point, and I won't go into details for that, where my God moment, where I was in a room with a friend who was in hospice, and I was singing to her as a way to just like make her feel good. And God said to me while I was singing, this moment with another human being is more important than all of the stuff that you've helped make in 25 years. All of this, the corporation stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I felt it. I felt it in my own being, like lit up,
yes.
and I was like, okay, okay, show me the way. I don't know. I'll leave I'll do that big leap off the hill, off the mountainside, and you show me. And, and I continue to do that. And it's liberating, it's scary, it's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's joyful. And I want to just say, reflecting back on the drinking or the what it is that we're suppressing. And
Hmm.
I came to realize, my own belief is that our souls are hanging outside of our body most of our lives. It's like our higher selves are just sort of like this bubble of like watching us do like, whatever we're going to do, like disconnected. And then when we start connecting, it's like our soul goes, oh, I'll come in here for a moment.
Mm.
Oh, you're going to do something stupid. I'm gonna go back, right? Like it's this new game of going back and forth, and all of a sudden, like this year for me, after all of last year and everything, I'm walking around on this planet more in like my spirit, more in my body
Mm.
than ever before I can remember in my entire life.
Yeah,
Does that make sense to you?
totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's where the joy can finally like come through and the excitement can come through, is because now I'm embodied. And
Yes. Like I really think that, like, when I think of joy, I think of this deep sense of soul satisfaction and fulfillment, but I think of being feeling alive. We want to feel alive,
yes,
and that is joy.
yes.
And something a client and I were talking about the other day, and she said, enthusiasm, the root of that, enthuse, means in God.
Ooh.
And then inspiration, and the root of that, inspira, is breathe into. So it's like the enthusiasm that you feel, letting it come up in you. It's like that's spirit moving through you.
Yeah.
Let
Mm.
it move through you. And then the breath work, it's like keep breathing into it. Keep breathing into that God moving through you. I just was like, oh,
Ah,
so
yeah.
when you said that.
Yes, that is so lovely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm moving to Nashville,
Yes.
or the Nashville area. Was that 3 years ago, 2018?
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So did you bring your practice here? Like, did you just keep working, remote clients, that type of thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
I did. I brought my practice here. And actually, this might be something we get into about motherhood,
Yeah.
but when we moved here in 2018 January, it was a very hard initiation into a new place.
Mhm.
Um, Not necessarily for me, but for my kiddos.
Mhm.
My oldest was in the middle of seventh grade, which is a hard time to move, but not as hard as I think it would have been in high school. So we thought about this for about 4 years before we made the move.
Mhm.
Um, one of my twins has always had some challenges with anxiety and diagnosis of different things we'd had were, ADHD, a little bit of, well, anxiety disorder, things like that's what they had called it.
Mhm.
Moving here sent him into a state of emergency. So his body just, the anxiety almost, he crossed a threshold where he couldn't work through it, and it
Mhm.
started to be panic attacks and his body shut down. And so I won't go too deep into that, but I will say that as a mother, it was all hands on deck. It
Mhm.
was, you know, there were moments where I was like, well, can I can I lay this down? Meaning my work. Can I, lay this down for a while? What will happen? Like, will it disappear? Will I lose, momentum? Like, will I lose my income? And I just kept, the answer was trust, just trust. This, you, all
Mhm.
hands on deck right now, Laura. This
Yes,
is what
yes.
God was saying to me. And so
Absolutely.
I really laid it aside for about 9 months. And in that 9 months, my focus was him and my other children, of course, and just getting my family settled here.
Yeah.
Um, and I tell you what, it was some of the things I witnessed him go through were some of the scariest moments I've been through as a mom. And also during that 9 month period, I will say I had a new understanding of joy
Mm.
and of aliveness.
Mm.
I learned how to search for the beauty in the most mundane of things. And I didn't, because here's something happening that's a crisis. And searching for joy in the littlest thing became my medicine, became my lifeboat.
Mhm.
And so I know that I kind of got off the question there,
Oh, it's good. No, it's good.
but that first 9 months, I had to really put my business over here
Yeah.
and say, okay, I trust that if I'm doing what I'm called to do, it's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And it was okay. Like, it was more than okay. It allowed me to take everything, first of all, to see him restored. It took about 9 months, but finally we got him to a place where he could leave the house again and get in the car again.
Mhm.
And, we got a dog. And let me tell you, that healing that pup has brought into this house makes me
Mhm.
want to cry. Um,
Yeah.
and so once we got him back online and he was emotionally stable enough, and we didn't put him back into a school system, we kept him home, we still do. Um, I was able to then go, okay, I'm ready to start to put some focus back into my work.
Mhm.
And little by little, and being in a new place, I started having a circle here and there. And I started, getting back. And then I got hired by a bigger coaching company to coach their students who are learning to become coaches.
Wow.
So that became a new stream of income.
Yes.
And I was business coaching and I was doing deep dive transformational 90-minute sessions for these new coaches. And it was wonderful. It
Mhm.
was so satisfying and such an amazing way to kind of get back into the momentum
Mhm.
financially and just energetically and everything. Um, and so that was such a beautiful gift, that 2 years with them. And so I was able to build my practice here. Although most of my clients are all over the world, I have to share.
Yeah.
They're not a whole lot. Actually, there are several local clients now, but most of
Mhm.
my clients are spread out all over the place. And
Mhm.
so I was able to continue to rebuild that after 9 months away, and also work for this bigger company, which I now have now been able to close down that piece and now just focus back on my practice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the question, are you doing this work full time or do you do it in conjunction with another form of work? It is, that is your work.
Yes.
And you're a mom and you're a full-time mom.
Yes. I am a
So
full-time mom.
those two things are what keep you going. And how has your family, like what kinds of dynamics happened as you were shifting? Like when you stopped drinking, did that change relationships in your life at all? Or how did that transition go for you?
Oh yes. I don't think my kids, I mean, energetically, I'm sure they noticed. And I was more of a, I don't know what you'd call, I hate labels and terms for things, but I wasn't like they may have not even known that I drank. And so
Uh-huh.
it was very hidden. It was very
Yeah.
like they'd go to bed and then I'd have my bottle of wine kind of thing. And they were really little.
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
twins were like two-ish, 2.5, two-ish. And Liam would
Yes.
have been around 5. But my other relationships, yes, I think for sure with my husband, things were able to be, um, you know, just so much effects when you're no longer just kind of numbing out. You're actually online. You're actually more present.
Present. Hmm.
But I think there were a few relationships in my life that I was able to see how they were kind of like alcohol. I was in those relationships spending a lot of time there to avoid being here.
Hmm.
And those relationships naturally started to kind of dwindle out
Yeah.
because I was no longer putting energy to them.
Yes.
Not that it was like a serious breakup kind of a thing with people.
Hmm.
It just became more, I can't focus there anymore. I'm focused here, and then focusing here brought new people into my life.
I love the way you describe that. Um, I'm, 54, going on 55, and uh, still noticing the codependent behavior patterns that I established early on in my childhood to survive, right? And am finally like I had one of those another. I think we go through those series of those like breaking points. Like I'm tired of being this. I'm tired of functioning this way. And for me, the most recent one, I was tired of having my heart broken
Yeah.
and covering over my heart all the time. And
Mhm.
so you and I talked briefly about this yesterday. I've been diving into the gene keys and doing the Venus sequence to heal my heart. I knew last fall, like, I am tired of these patterns that I keep repeating, and I need to heal my heart. And
Mhm.
in that process, I had to take a step back on some relationships that were really potent for me and I thought were really important. And what I recognized as I stepped back and started to heal myself was that I was in a codependent scenario with them. Like I was feeding into them, expecting something in return that was never gonna, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
so it's like, stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that too. I love that you share that like this isn't it's not always a once and done. Like
Yes.
that was my experience when I quit drinking. But then there's other seasons of our life where that comes back and we need
Yes.
to rework through that, you know?
I just feel like it's a deeper level. It's just another opportunity, another level of cleaning and clearing out and elevating ourselves to the next vibration. And then, you go through that series of self-healing and then you come out and you're like, okay, so who is with me now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who do I get to hang with now?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Who does my soul recognize? Who are we?
right?
Who wants to
Yeah.
play with me? Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Yeah. It's important.
beautiful. Yeah. And it's difficult to let go of those relationships. Sometimes it feels like it's heart-wrenching, and at the same time, with enough distance, finally recognizing the pattern, the situation, the me letting go actually honored them in some way to go and heal themselves at a different level
Mhm.
too. And we can see the love in it. We
Yes.
can experience the love in it when we've allowed ourselves to grow,
Yeah,
bloom.
we can see
Yeah.
the love in it when we see that each relationship is there for us
Yes.
to grow. Even
Yeah.
if it doesn't stay the same or we don't remain in the same way that we were, it
Yeah.
was there to kind of give us that opportunity to say, oh, like I could look back on certain friendships that aren't anymore and say, oh my gosh, like I was really trying to heal my, this really, I was putting so much there because, some things I hadn't worked through with my own mom or my own
Yes.
sister.
Yes.
Relationships
Yes.
are to help us keep working things out that we
Mhm.
haven't worked out from our family of origin too. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So, what keeps you focused on sharing your gifts? What
Ooh,
drives you when you get up in the morning and go like, oh,
yeah. Oh man, I just have so much passion for, well, I think it's that question of what breaks your heart
Mhm.
sometimes is an easy question to ask yourself. And I look at the own women in my family. Um, I think that's why again, it's not okay with me that the things I witnessed, them not ever being fully expressed in this world, and the
Mhm.
sadness and the shame,
Mhm.
um, and it never becoming realized. And I know that's their journey, so I don't spend a whole lot of time. I'm not saying I feel sorry for them or anything like that, but there's a part of me that's like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I want to stop this pattern, at least definitely in my own family line.
Mhm.
But I think this is, one of the questions you asked me was, what is one of your gifts? And one of my gifts is to see the beauty in people. Well,
Mhm.
actually, to see the beauty in everything. But I see the beauty in people, and it's just so crazy to me how I can look back over my existence, and even as a little girl, the things and patterns that I would do,
Mhm.
I was already acting in that gift. And I don't mean see your beauty as in
Mhm.
the patriarchal definition of beauty,
Right. Right.
capitalism, all the things. But I mean, I see your soul, I see your beauty. And I think one of my gifts, I was thinking it's restoration. It's where beauty's been forgotten, and a lot of us have forgotten our beauty.
Mhm.
And um, that is my greatest desire, and I yearn. I have a longing for beauty, and that comes in all forms. I love to write, I love to see art, I love writing poetry. When I heard your voice in the frame drum, I was like, oh, like beauty that speaks to me. And it's funny, I've told you, as a little girl, I had this really kind of a weird thing. But now I see what I was doing. But even as young as preschool, I would ask the teacher, can I go in at lunchtime and rearrange the room to make it more pleasing?
Oh, wow.
Like, who does that when they're like 4? And like little things. I did that a lot. I did that all through school. I would ask the teachers if I could come in and kind of redecorate, rearrange. Um, I would be on my best friend's farm, and there'd be like this old rusted out car that had been abandoned. And I would just get to work, like uncovering it with my little shears and like, let's find the beauty. I see that now. I didn't know what wasn't conscious of that then.
Okay, so I have to show you something.
Okay.
This is on my altar. This is a poem that I wrote when I was 7.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
It says, beauty. Beauty is being loved by my mother. Beauty is the sun. Beauty is a flower. Beauty is a sparkling star. Beauty is the moon. Beauty is the earth. Beauty is people.
Well, there you go. That's why we recognized each other.
Exactly. I wrote that when I was 7.
Oh my goodness.
And then my grandmother painted it because she was an artist, and this hung on our family's in our house and our family's wall for all my all my life, and my mom gave it to me. Right? So I'm just like going, that is why we see each other. That
Yeah.
is why we recognize each other.
Yes.
Because that's both of us are like, how do we help people? Because when we see people, we can see their beauty. We
Yes.
see who they're supposed to be, and we want them to see what we see.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
And then we think that they see what we see, and then we realize, no, they don't see it yet.
Yeah, no, they don't see it yet, but eventually,
Yeah.
the relationship. Like, I want
Yes.
to do this, so here's what I
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Unpack. We're gonna
Yes.
unpack all the things that have covered up your beauty,
Judy.
not allowed you to see it. So that is so
Okay.
well,
So let's talk a bit about, I'm going to kind of switch around a couple questions. Let's talk about balancing your motherhood. You know, you're a very, very important job as mom, with your personal growth, healing, and expansion. Like, how do you work that in
yeah.
your life?
So this was hard at first. Definitely, I've had seasons where I was like really, really wanting to be in my gifts, well, as far as like how I express it through my client work,
Yes.
and other times where I really, really wanted to just be a mom, just be there. So it is. It's like this pull and this tug, like and I think it's a journey to unpack. What am I believing about my role here? What am I believing about my purpose?
Mhm.
And one thing I came to was my purpose will never ask me to harm someone else. My purpose will never ask me to put someone else in danger or,
Mhm.
you know, take away from someone else. Um, but my purpose also asked me to just be present wherever I'm doing. And I
Mhm.
think that's the hard part. That is the hard part of balancing. Not as much anymore because my kids are older. Now they're 12, 12, and 16. Um,
Mhm.
they don't need me as much anymore, which can be hard too. They do
Yeah.
still need me a
Mhm.
lot, but not as much as when they were little and you're like literally running around helping them when they fall and Cheerios and the whole thing.
Yeah, right. Cleaning up after them. Hopefully, they're finally at a point where they're starting to clean up
Yeah,
after themselves.
hopefully they're a little more independent now. Oh my gosh. Um, but I think it's too like recognizing when I'm in an ego place of I need to be doing this bigger, faster, farther, you
Mm.
know, that's ego. And I know that what that feels like, it feels like kind of like this kind of like constricted, like, oh my gosh, I should be farther along feeling.
Mhm.
It's noticing when that comes up and what triggers it. And sometimes it's like noticing, okay, well, if I'm seeing someone be big out there in the world, um, how can I let that inspire me?
Mhm.
But also knowing, my life looks very different than theirs.
Mhm.
Again, like I have 3 children. So it's really like becomes trying to compare oranges and apples. So if I'm looking out and comparing and despairing, then I don't even know what stage they're in. I don't know what season they're in. I don't know what they have on their plate. So I've really learned to practice like, well, all I know is for me, it's about letting go of that ego piece, bigger, faster, farther, whatever.
Yeah.
And just going, I know my purpose. I know how I'm here to serve. I know why I'm here to serve. Um, and being okay with that might look different. The pace at which I serve, the amount of time at which I serve in my gifts may look different than somebody who has this business that is just maybe it's more full time or maybe there's more hours they can put towards it.
Mhm.
So it becomes like, what's most important to me? Let me get my priorities in line. And then, still working with a corp financially what I need to make, you know, and then looking at my schedule and saying, okay, how can I chunk out my space? How can I create space for this? And how can I create space for this?
Mhm.
And um, that may look like coaching 3 days a week and having 2 days of time where I can be focused on everything else.
Mhm.
Whereas someone else's business might be they coach 7 days a week and they're traveling the world and all these things. That's awesome. But for me, I have to be in my own flow. I have to be true to um, what's right here, right now,
Yes.
and then work with that. So it's about, I think, creating a sense of harmony, and sometimes I am more working and sometimes I am more with the kids. So it's just like it doesn't necessarily have to be equal all the time,
Mhm.
right? And the scales, but it definitely needs to have a sense of flow.
And they need to know that you're going to be there for them when they need you.
Yes,
You're
absolutely.
willing to drop what it is you're doing when there's a crisis or there's an issue that needs their mom's attention.
Yes, and that's a priority for me. That is definitely a core value for me, that I want them to know that, yes, that they are a priority for me.
Yes. What I want to share is early on when I started doing my work, I'm a woman who has no children. I have animal children. It's just me and my husband. And I was always not a ladder climber, but just because I was effective at what I did would be management, either independent contributor or management at some level. And uh, so when I started doing my business, it was like my life is my business,
Uh-huh.
all in, and I'm still working on trying to figure out what the balance is between work and not work. Haven't quite figured that out yet. But originally, when I first started drawing women to me who were in that crisis mode,
Mm-hmm.
is that they were seeing me and watching me, and I'm like, I'm everywhere. I'm like, and they're like, how do you do it? Like, what are you doing? And a lot of times women would come and then they end up leaving their marriages. Like they would get stirred up and they would go like, I gotta get out. I gotta be free. I gotta, and and then I also recognize, over time, like, no, some of you women are moms, and you have to. It's like it's not about leaving your job. It's about making sure you have the financial stability to make sure your family is cared for and not losing you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be maybe a slower process. Don't look to how I'm doing it to be the example, because you will hurt a lot of souls in the process if
Yeah.
you try and do that. And so I'm much more aware of that now. And if people come to me for any kind of consultation or, facilitation, I'm like, balance.
Yeah.
Make sure you have some level of income that that is providing for safety and security for you and your family.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go all in. You may have to wait till your kids are done with school before you go all in. Like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
don't give up on yourself. Cultivate it. Do the inner work. There's a lot of things you can do to get yourself ready for whatever's next. But I appreciate that awareness so much more. Um,
Mm. Yeah, such a great awareness now that you, because yeah, it can be such a oh gosh, I went through that too. I remember when I first started coaching, and I wanted to just be doing it all the time. And even when I worked for the bigger company and I was coaching coaches, that's something I would work with them on. What are your desires? What do you want to build? But then, okay, awesome. Now let's look at everything else in your life too.
yes.
And it's not about becoming one or the other. It's about how do we marry it all. And like you said, it's not always about quitting the job right away to become a full-time coach or whatever, artist or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's about creating some spaciousness in there for you
Mhm.
to do it little by little. Like you said, it's so important, because if you just throw it all out, now you're so stressed out that all your energy is going to that, be the
Yes.
stress, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm fine with my path and how I did it. And I did have a financial bucket
Yeah.
that I was able to dip into, an IRA over time as I needed to take, money out or whatever. So, I had responsibility in my back pocket, you
Well,
know.
and sometimes that is the right answer, to just quit the job. That is sometimes right. It's
Yes.
just that it has to be right for that person. It has to be right for, and that is
Their
kind of,
family.
yeah, for their family, for them, for the whole thing. Yeah.
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 Beautiful. So, how do you feel this shift, like over the course of the last 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, your shift? Why do you think um, it happened for like this time on the planet, like everything that we went through in 2020? Like, how do you feel like your service and your cultivation of you is here now for this time on the planet?
Yeah. Wow. I was thinking about this morning. I think, well, I feel that, as we're going through this massive shift in our world, we're also being called to really begin to value a more feminine energy and then let the masculine support that. I think you froze. Are we paused? Oh,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Say that again if you can.
Okay. So I feel that just just even more over this past year or year and a half. I don't know how long it's been since everything the world has changed. Um, but I feel we're really being called and asked to begin to really value the feminine energy
Mm-hmm.
on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so long it's been the masculine, go, 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 bigger, better, take action, all that. Like we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
action is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Innovation is amazing. These things are amazing. But I feel like we are being called to lead and value the feminine energy of intuition and
Mm-hmm.
divine guidance and being in a state of flow, in a state of let me tap in and then create something to hold that, to support that and take action. It's
Yes.
I mean, so much about this,
Yes.
but I definitely feel that even just in a smaller way, that's what most of my clients come to me for. A lot of them have been in that push for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and they've created businesses and they've done these big things, and they come to me and it's almost as if they're like wanting permission to now value this other half of themselves. And they're craving this, just letting this other part of themselves have just as much space as the doing. And so I don't know for sure, but I feel like I'm here now at this place because of where I started 9 years ago. And so I feel so grateful that I said yes 9 years ago, that I could be here now and hopefully help women give themselves permission
Yeah.
to be part of the healing of this planet,
Yes.
starting with the healing of themselves.
Yes. Beautiful.
So,
Yes, I love it. And that's the thing is like we are these beings that can create so much, but is it what are we creating? And that's where that divine intuition, the divine guidance, receiving our own personal insight about how we are supposed to serve, and
mhm.
with that, then taking action as opposed to just act, 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 act,
Yes.
and then feel depleted and have no joy because you've just been doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what's our come from? That's everything.
Yes.
If we're coming from a place of, I need to prove myself, I need to prove my worth, I need to keep up with the guys, I need to da 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 da. Like we're just
Exhausting.
exhausted, and we
Yeah.
don't have a sense
Mhm.
of meaning or joy. So yeah.
Let's talk briefly about money. What do you believe about money and how and compensation for your time? How has that maybe changed over time?
Oh, it's still changing. I'm still
Mhm.
evolving and learning and growing about money.
Mhm.
Um, doing my own inner work, it's everything's connected. So how we do one thing's how we do everything sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's same thing with money. Sometimes it's like if I'm feeling like I have to be small and not be big, whatever that means for me. My big may look different than someone else's big. My big may be like, I'm big. I am big. And someone else might be out there in a different way. But what I mean is if I'm putting my bigness in shadow out of fear of harming somebody, I've worked through that a lot lately. I grew up in a family where my mother was bipolar, and that went untreated most of our lives. And so there was this pattern in her way of being that was really, really small and then really, really big, the manic and the depressed. And so in that, and then I had a sister too. I had an older sister who then had to kind of keep her bigness under wraps because mom couldn't handle the bigness.
Yes.
So we all learned how to be smaller. And this is another bigger, longer story for later.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of money, sometimes I think it can become my version of staying small was also stay small equals do no harm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think sometimes there's a belief in there, and for a lot of people, I think too that come to this not from a place of really thinking I'm going to start a business. They come to this work or this kind of work as a healer or a coach or a guide from a place of I want to serve. And so it's like, well, is it okay to ask for money for that? I mean, this is so there's a lot of things mixed in there. Well, what I will say is I've learned, and I'm still learning, that asking someone to invest in themselves, and I think their inner journey is probably the most important thing they could ever invest in.
Mm-hmm.
Asking someone and inviting them into that investment for themselves is actually a service. I'm being of service to them. And
Mm-hmm.
if I don't invite them into that, perhaps there's a missed opportunity for them to experience bigger growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I really had to work at rewiring that, because we don't want to be harmful to other people as healers. We don't want to harm anybody. We don't want to take away from anybody. And it can feel like that when you're asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're actually asking them to do is to invest in a bigger way in themselves, in their healing, in their gifts. And once I can really embody that belief, inviting them into making an investment, it doesn't feel anymore like I'm taking away something.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I'm asking them to stretch out of their comfort zone, especially if it's a higher investment than they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, when you set a goal that feels a little stretchy, that's actually pulling you out of your comfort zone, then that is something that's going to help you grow. That's why it feels stretchy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it makes you feel like you're going to throw up, then that's probably maybe not
A little too stretchy.
it's too stretchy. That's maybe not quite an alignment for you.
Yes, yet.
But you want to stretch yourself a little bit outside of what you typically would have done
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to investing. So, and I'm still a work in progress in this area. I think, I've actually been diving deeper into this very subject for myself this year.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, having started out with the work that I do, where no one really understood what it is I was doing very early on, I was keeping it very inexpensive, and when I was in the corporate realm, it was very easy for me to go online and go like, well, I'm doing these tasks and this work, and people in this realm of responsibility get this amount of money, and so it was easy for me to track how much money I should be making if I wasn't feeling like I was being paid enough, and then go in and ask for more. And so when I was out of that and like doing this thing that nobody understood, I kept it very inexpensive just so people would have the experience. But
Mm-hmm.
now 8 years later, as awareness and things are building for me, I can't be everywhere. I need balance in my own life. I
Mm-hmm.
have to pay for my mortgage and my, cost of living stuff. So it's like I'm starting to learn how to do less for more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to do less for more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. And it's okay for me to set a rate, an hourly rate, based on the fact that not only have I been doing this 8 years, but I have 25 years of marketing, product development, project management. Like I have all the skills still with me, that I carry with me, that I can. So I'm finally at a point at year 8 where I'm like going, okay, I'm changing the dynamic
Yeah.
because I do want to have time for my own creativity. I do want to have time for my family. I do want to create a better balance and not be working all the time or
Yeah.
feeling like I have to work all the time.
Well, and yeah, and what I hear is that you're really owning the value of what you bring. You're
Yes.
owning that value.
Finally.
You're sitting in it and you're saying, I know the value of this. And so here's what I'm going to ask you to invest in this because I know what's going to happen. I know what happens from this.
Yes.
It's big stuff.
Yeah.
I always tell clients when they have a connection call, and if it's a good fit and it feels like it's in alignment and we become coach and client, we work together. I always get kind of like, I'm so excited for you. Like, not because they are signing up with me, honestly.
Yeah.
It's because they've said yes to themselves
Mm-hmm.
and they're about to begin this life-shifting journey. And that is everything. And
Because
they're
they're
probably like,
finding their beauty. They're going to discover their beauty, and it's going to be beautiful, and the whole world is going to be much more beautiful when people find it and use it and are it.
it's true. It
Yes.
really is. Yes.
Awesome. So the bartering energy exchange thing, a lot of people in sort of these newer paths and stuff like that really get weird around, exchange. And I'm like, I can't, we're still living in the 3D world, y'all. We're not living in the no money place yet, where everyone is just in bliss land,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not there yet.
That's
So we need
exactly.
money. I need some cash.
Right, even if you were, I always say, even if I'm, um, providing a service for someone and they're providing a service for me, and let's say they were even around the same investment,
Mm-hmm.
I still like, I'm going to actually give you the money
Yes.
and have you actually give me that. It doesn't matter if it's the same amount, whatever. It's the energy exchange.
Amen.
It
And
means,
I was going to say, we as women have a really difficult time allowing ourselves to receive for our work.
yes,
So we have to get into that mode and go, this is okay for me to do this. So I love that you expressed that.
yes,
If your finances are equal of value, let's just exchange the money, honey.
yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're coming close to the end, and it's been lovely, lovely, lovely talking to you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I want to see, just give you a moment to like breathe in. Is there anything, any piece of information or wisdom that you feel like you want to share or leave people with today before we finish up?
Gosh, I'm so long-winded. It's hard to just put it into one word, but or one sentence even. But so much. Like I would say several things. You are not broken. There's not something wrong with you. You're not out of time. I don't care what your age is on the planet. Like age is age. Um you definitely always have a choice. There's an infinite amount of choices. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that you possess gifts and beauty,
Mm-hmm.
and that may have no inkling or resemblance to anything you've been told that's supposed to mean. Um, that you are here to make a difference, whether that's in your family, in your friendships, on the planet. I mean, it's all connected in
Mm-hmm.
your purpose, in your career. Um, and what better time than today? I mean, I'll just stick with that because that feels right.
Great, beautiful.
What better
Now's the
time?
time.
Now's
Now, people, right now. No, 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 no. Beautiful.
the time.
So coming up, I mean, I will share with people on the video at the end of the video how to connect with you, how to contact you. But are there any things happening in your world in the near future or long term that you want people to know about? Yeah, so share.
Absolutely. I would love to share the next actual retreat that I have coming, which will be in person, for the first time since January 2020. That was my last retreat I had in person here in Tennessee. And not, I think it was what, a month and a half later, the world shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So that, just having had that last experience, just became, wow, so special. So I'm so excited to be having the next one in October.
Mm-hmm.
It will be in Columbia,
Mm-hmm.
which is near Nashville, for those of you who don't know that. It's going to be an in-person experience. It's called the Unleashing Joy Retreat. And I could not be more excited. And I'm so glad you're joining us to lead us through a
Yes.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be for 8 to 10 women. So I'm already taking applications. It's not like a big application, but is this in alignment for you?
Right fit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We already have a couple of people who have said yes. So I'm super excited about that. So that will be, if you want to get in touch with me and ask about that, like what will that experience be? Email me, send me a message, go on my website, and there's a little button that you can say, I want to be on the wait list for that. And you can read about it. The other thing is my signature group program called Soul Sanctuary. It is the first iteration of it is just completing this month. And I will be relaunching that experience 2.0 in January.
Okay.
So I'm already starting to put it out there
for next year.
I'm going to start to put it out there for next year. It's going to be a 6-month journey, and it's going to be a group experience. And I have a link I can share with you that goes more into depth about what we do, what we go through in that journey.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. And I know you have, there's another, is it Heather that you do work with?
Heather is going to actually be co-leading the retreat with me.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And so I'm so excited about that. Heather is someone who, when she reached out to me actually to do this, she reached out and said, can we do a retreat together? I was an instant yes. I deeply trust her. And she has many, many years experience of life-shifting work with clients. And so I could not be more excited to do this with her. And she'll be flying out here from Los Angeles, and we'll be co-leading that experience together. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
And are you open to new clients as well? Do you have space for new clients if people want one-on-one coaching with you?
I do have some space for new clients right now. And typically I work with one-to-one clients in a 6-month container.
Okay.
That's where we start, because I always say this isn't a once and done. This isn't like 10 steps and this is a journey. So 6 months is the typical journey that we start with.
Good to know. Beautiful.
Thanks for asking, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been my honor and pleasure to spend time with you today. And I loved how our journey went in different directions, which it always does. And just creating a safe place for people to share about themselves. And we often, we're so busy helping other people do that for them that we almost, don't think about the fact that we need a space to speak out our truth too, and to reflect on our journey and how far we've come. And so thank you so much for spending time with me today. And just know that this message will go out and help whoever hears it. Thank you all for watching and listening today. And I look forward to sharing another one in June. We'll be doing this again in June. So have a great day today, Laura, and we'll see you Sunday.
Okay, see you Sunday.